It's Tuesday, and you know what happens on Tuesday? We bring you the Mensden right here on Art in Heart, the hashtag Mensden, and you are watching this live cast on YouTube, Facebook, and the handle is the Arts in Heart. Before we get everything rolled, I'm told the men are ready for you. Let's start with the one and only Matasio Kago. Alisema last time, huwa tunamleta wa mwisho ndio watu wafikiria anachelewa sana. Matasio, how are you, sir?
I'm very fine, sir. Thank you very much for me being the first one. But I know you always do this to blame me, put me in a trap. Now you put the most complicated topic, then you put me the first one. Okay.
Definitely.
Viewers, we are ready to roll.
Thank you so much for coming through, sir. And of course, we have the one and only Mwalimu Eshuchi Lumumba.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, the viewers, for having us on board. Thank you, Eli and Matasio. Leo Eli Matasio amekuja wa kwanza, so I am thinking it's gonna be a nice show. Yes, Matasio, you can pave the red carpet for us as we come on. This is a tricky one. Yeah, leo ni tricky.
Tricky sana. We have James Mwathi. Good evening, sir. How are you doing, Mr. Psychologist?
Good evening, Eli, and African man, and my friend Suchi. Tricky one, eh? Word on the street is that today African man wants to bring the house down. He wants to burn the house. I don't know what's happening. But good to be here. Good evening to all viewers, and let's roll.
Let's roll this, and of course you can join the conversation with the hashtag Mensden and Art in Heart. Now, matters insecurities and in men have been the talk of the Mensden since last week. And for those who missed out, you're wondering why are they guys even wondering ama wanatupeleka kwa story mingi. Let's just see what happened last week that decided we must have this conversation tonight. Take a look.
Timing is most important. 1 minute is enough. Every other thing that you're demanding for, that is on you. Your expectations are yours. Number two, I have a very amazing and deep friend of mine. He's called Ed. He's also a friend on Facebook. You guys can check him out. And one post that he made, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing here, was number one, you cannot, both as a man and a woman, you cannot go out there adultering and sleeping with everybody that you meet out there. Then you come with the experience of adultery and fornication and peg it on someone else to fulfill your libidos based on your fornication. You get it? So
Brother, may you live to see the day.
You cannot have a man who has just been maybe with 2 women and he's just getting on with it and he's keen to keep one woman. Then you've slept with a multitude of men out there and you're coming and you're demanding a whole night of marrying. I mean, that one is not owed to anybody.
Wow, that was heated. Eshuchi Lumumba came out defending the rights of a man. Okay. To our guests that are watching us tonight, we have Masters Moses Asema, hello to you, sir. We have Noreen Asema, we are tuned. Boniface, the earliest, but thank you so much for tuning in. Jekita says, tuned in. Watu wa team YouTube, thank you so much. Frida Hukumatasio, coming at number 1. Definitely. Alafu tunasema, Tonya Prince anasema, tuned. Elbow cuff, good vibes. Thank you so much. Kiproroda Mensden, nimefika. Good evening to you. And of course, Godi Segero, here to represent the 1 minute battalion. Mensden is the hashtag. Gentlemen, mulikuja na hasira sana. What is happening? Why are we labeled all these sort of names? And again, we start that conversation. 1 minute is not the issue. It is the quality. Why are ladies disputing this? James.
Why do you ask me a lady's question, Ellie?
Well, I'm told you're the guy who mind reads people. No.
What are you trying to insinuate? Anyway, again, this is a very emotive topic. So I don't know which angle to start looking at it from. But to go direct to what you ask, why ladies insinuating or disputing or having issues with the period of time?
Mm-hmm.
We have to start from the point of we have a society that is a bit enlightened than before. Let's start there. Okay, we have a society that is a bit open than before. We have a society that is able to talk about sexuality than before, openly. While before we had groups of, for example, women would be mentored under an aunt or a senje or a, in today's world, it is out there on the internet, in the social spheres and all that. What this makes women do is try and compare their experiences with what they see and what they perceive as normal. Now the question is what they see as normal from society, is what is sold real or not? Okay. Again, remember, and we have to bring this on the table. Very many people have been exposed to pornography, and unfortunately, we tend to imagine that pornography is real while it is acting. So again,
have you ever acted in one of those? How do you know it's acting? Because the basic knowledge is whatever goes.
Ellie, anybody with a little common sense, for lack of a better word. Anyway, these are acted and for various purposes. These are acted clips, and the experience that is shown on camera is not the experience that will be on the ground. Kwa ground vitu ni different, eh? But then again, like anything social media, we tend to think we are having it worse than the other person. So all these can be avenues of dissatisfaction from women. Again, remember, even when they talk amongst themselves, humans tend to paint a good picture of themselves. So they will not go telling their girlfriends that I had a bad experience. I'm having a bad experience with my man, with my boyfriend, everybody will try and paint themselves good, and that piles pressure on the next person who tries to go and have the same experience she was told about with her man, and that might not be realistic. So all this, again, this specifically to the question that you ask, why would women dispute or have issues with the length of time? I'll leave Suchi to answer whether each woman is responsible for her own happiness or not. On that, I will not be party to.
Let me bring you, Shuchi, because you've been mentioned in this case as we try to establish. Because last week you came really gun blazing and telling women your happiness is upon you and the works of your hands. Literally speaking, Eshuchi,
Yes.
we have issues of people looking at pornography and imagining that is how things happen in reality. And people like you, fortunate or unfortunately, you have these so masculine hands and bodies that make women go ooh gaga. Are you the problems that you, I mean, are you the source of our problems, the rest of the race that are struggling with body size? Are you the reason why other women feel the masculine one will make them feel better? Because apparently,
Are you asking me to answer this question subjectively, or do you want...
Yes, I am. This is very subjective.
If it's subjective, I can't speak for myself because I do not know the insecurities that the non-masculine men walk around with, and I do not know the expectations of their women thereof. So I would not know if I'm actually an element of that equation. But I can address this topic on a general term. Number one, this is science. You can't argue with science. I'm an artist, but I respect science. It takes a man, just listen to me, it takes a man between 3 hours and 48 hours to get back to his erectile function after a round of sex. It takes a woman anything between 2 minutes to 5 minutes to get back in the mood for sex. So already, first of all, already we are fighting with science. So you need to realize one thing, that some things, kuna vita zingine tumejieka ambazo si vita za binadamu. You know, you are fighting wars that don't belong to you.
Kazi ya mikono ya Bwana.
Exactly.
Kazi ya mikono ya...
Yes, that is number one. Number two, this is very subjective, so you can hold a gun on me if you want. This is an opinion that I hold very dearly. Society, if a woman was here, they would tell us the way society really has their shoulders burdened. But I also think there's a share of the burden that is on men. Let me tell you the role of a modern day man in a sexual preparation. This man is the man. This is the man who will shoot his shot. He will do everything from shooting his shot, from sending fare, perhaps itakulwa, or going to do the pickup, actually ensuring that the environment is conducive. If it's a date, ensuring the dates are booked, bills are paid, perhaps here and there. All these things you're making in preparation for the woman. And then the same man, again, you want him to just come and do all the work. I mean, listen, I think, mimi nitarudia what I said last week. Timing is everything. And I think this is where we come with what I strongly call sexual chemistry. People overlook the power of sexual chemistry, because with good sexual chemistry, it's not going, it's what you said at the beginning, it's not going to be the length, it's going to be the quality. You get the point? It's going to be the quality, because all the nerves are triggered at par. But sasa you want, and then another thing I tell men these days, stop sexting. There's something called sexting. You've sexted, you've placed expectations up there, you've told someone that you're going to do this and that, and then they reach there, and then you realize you're just a man. What?
You know, talking of that, I remember one of those events where one a close friend was being sexted with their friend who was in, these Middle East countries. They go for so many years. And they are building this fantasy of when they come, what they will do on the balcony, the things they will make them. And then I'm there gazing. After 5 minutes of hard work and pain, you are nowhere. Clearly, this man should be full of himself. Matasio Kagwa, before
sexting, before Matasio comes, sexting unleashes it. Keep a weapon or two for yourself. Keep that bullet or two for yourself. You cannot unleash all the cards here. Let this person come and then, do your thing. And then you might have, if you fail, you did not place expectations. If you over deliver, then well and good. You did not go cocky about it. But hey, we're gonna do this. Remember before Matasio comes in, remember one thing. It takes, and I want you to get this very clearly, it takes a man who is ready to have sex for a sexual intercourse to happen. A lady can have sex if they are necessarily not ready to have sex, because you need to be erect, you need to be hard, you need to be penetrative for you to actually have sex for the both of you. For a woman, like you said before, like we've talked in the Mensden before, sex happens in the body of the woman. So sex is happening in the body of a woman. That means a woman can have sex if they don't want to have sex, and sex will go on. But for man, you need to want to have sex. So you want to guard the facilitation of you being actually able to have sex, for sex to happen for the both of you.
Awesome.
Probably, Ellie, so that we do not misconstrue what Suchi is saying, for a man to have sex, his mind has to be in the sex. His mind. For a woman, she can have sex while thinking about the salon. Yeah. So those are two different angles between man and woman. So what Esuchi is trying to bring home is it takes more for the man to be able to be in the act than it takes the woman.
Thank you so much. I believe I will reserve Matasio, because he's been writing his notes as always. I will reserve him for the best part of this conversation. Let's get into the comment section and see who is saying what, because apparently huku kumeja sana. And for everybody following this conversation, I advise you to get onto YouTube, because all the family is right there on YouTube. And because starting the month of November, all our live shows will be coming exclusively on our YouTube channel. That is the Arts in Heart Official. And I believe our producer God is sharing the link right down there so that the rest of you can follow through the conversation. We have Kirui Kito says, tuned in. Thank you so much. Let's see, Frida Sema Eshuchi, that was deep, Aki. You went very deep. Thank you so much. Lisa, you are here tonight, says tuned in. Thank you so much. Nyanduko 254, Godi, umesema Ineos 1.59 is the way to go. Okay. Now I get the joke. Okay. Not 2 minutes. 2 minutes is too much. Okay. I rest my case. Guys, let's shift to YouTube. Thank you so much. You're being advised there by Godi, our producer. And let's see who else is here. Mi naona tu hapa ni at in Heart family. Poor Eshuchi, I don't know what happened to him. But then again, Mpenzi Semeni anafurahia his story mbali inaelekea. Guys, I want us to help each other. The question we are asking tonight is this question. And I would love for you as audience to engage us. Should men take the blame for their unsatisfied sexual partner's demands? The question is, should men take the blame for their unsatisfied sexual partner's demands? Nani wa kulaumiwa? Is it the warrior or the one that is being fought in that fight? Let's take a break. We'll be back with Matasio Kagwa with the African perspective.
Finally, it's gonna offer nice kupite Ajoymak wallpapers and deco. We have quality wallpapers, wall mirrors, and contact papers to beautify the space of yours. Currently, we have selected wallpapers on offer for 10.50 Kenya shillings per roll. A roll is 10 meters by 0.5 meters. So technically, a normal wall will take 2 to 3 rolls. We deliver and install countrywide. Get in touch with us on 0786923452 and we will help you build a happy place.
Definitely helping you build a happy place. That is by Joymark Wallpapers. Get there and get your orders before the offer expires. I'm back here with the man in the Mensden, and I want to engage Matasio. Matasio, these men are using very elusive words to try and defend themselves. And one of the things that stands out is, as men, we are expected to work especially with our flags hoisted up, like the Mount Kenya one, right? Rather, the one that is being hoisted at Uhuru Park after Kenya got her 10th, the 2010 constitution. You know how high that that flag hoisties iko hivyo. So wanaume, according to the African society, expected to perform. Is it the kind of foods we are eating, or is it the kind of meals being prepared by our ladies that make us look like we are not able to function? Umepewa air burger or burger za McD, alafu wanataka ufanye kama mtu umekula mihogo. Matasio.
Eddie, thank you very much for the chance. And as I told you in the beginning, it's a very sensitive topic, and I don't even know if we have the right, as a few men here, if we think we have the right to talk on behalf of the rest of the men in the world. Well, but we are the chosen few, and I appreciate it. But before I go on, I'd like to acknowledge, because I think we're having multi-channels. So some people are watching from Radio Africa EU, some people watching from the other channels. I'd like to read a comment from Mpenzi Semeni. She says, you can't blame a man. This can happen to anyone. It depends. Like, I know if I do something like that, my man will come early, but you can help him to enjoy the sex. Yes, there's a lot coming in. And also a big up to Nanzi Wanjiku, who's also watching, and also Lou van Gestel. Okay, good. I'll come to the topic. First of all, I'd like to send a very clear message, especially to men outside there. When I say sexual diversity or sexual variety should not create any insecurity. That's it. You know, there are people who can go for the whole night. There are people who can go for half an hour. There are people who can go for whatever time. And I will not use the word because I'm also coming to that topic again. So my first point is sexual diversity should not create insecurity in any human being, be it a male or a female. Also ladies. Also, there are ladies also who are short-time ladies, as you can call it. And they're also, you know, we have things, the sexuality is sacred. So that is one thing we have to understand. We are talking it from a third perspective, but I'll come to the whole African third angle perspective. So, first warning, sexual differences, diversity, preferences should not cause any insecurity. And some of them are medical cases. Any medical case you have should not cause you insecurity. Okay? Yeah. Now, then I come to understanding this from a man's perspective. First of all, when we talk about sex, let us also not limit ourselves to 1/3, which is the physical world. You know, when you talk about 1 minute, 2 minutes, orgasm, all those are the physical pleasures of sexuality. You understand? Then we also have the intellectual level. Somebody mentioned something very well. Shuki said something very much. Your mind has to be set so as to enter into some satisfying sexual intercourse. Okay, what do I mean with that? You cannot say you have had, okay, you've made love. Let's even call it, you've made love when your mind was not there. You understand? And somebody mentioned something, one of us mentioned something about a female can have sex absent-minded, but a man has to bring his mind there to be even able to have an erection. That is science. And as we cannot fight with it. You understand? We cannot fight with it. So for me to discuss this topic, first of all, I like to make everybody see it not only from the physical world, where we focus on how long it takes for a man to breathe in and out. You know, like, and we're even talking about when we are talking about the first orgasm. Let's be scientific. We are talking about one orgasm. Yeah, there can be a 2-minute man, but he goes on every 20 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes for 6 hours, 25 hours. That's also a performance ability. You understand? So let us, and this is also for both us men and women, if we start to limit ourselves in appreciating, being satisfied, and understanding and acknowledging and appreciating these sacred activities we'll be having with our partners, if we limit ourselves to minutes, my friend, we are lost. We are lost.
Well, before you come and interject. And before I lose you, I really need you to tell me, does meals or foods play a role? Because this is really what I'm interested in before we can, intertwine
plays
all
a
these
role.
things.
That's automatic. It plays a role.
I think maybe
You are what you eat. You are what you eat. If you don't eat, you cannot even perform.
I think maybe before we get into the meals, I feel that is a slightly advanced stage of the discussion or conversation. Like you all know, my approach to issues is always, what is the cause? What is the cause of sexual and of course physical sexual interaction being the yardstick of good sex and being of course a conception of insecurities in men. And I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day, and one thing that we were trying to discuss are the generational differences. And I think Matasio has just highlighted a bit about it. I don't know if it was Matasio or James. Sex has become so liberal, and the world has become, I don't want to call it exposed. I think sometimes we misuse some words. I don't call that exposure. I call that liberalization. And sometimes to extremes that I'm not so sure we in our current human nature are able to sustain. I was telling somebody that a current 20 to 23-year-old, male or female, has probably had more sexual adventure than a current 40-year-old man. You might not believe this, but it's because there is so much. I remember back in school, it was sacred to even hear that you have a girlfriend. One day a rumor just hovered around home that I had a girlfriend, and my dad stopped me from going to school for a week. He told me to go and take care of cattle until I am sure I'm ready to go back to school and read and stop thinking about girls. So that's how sacred it was. And then now you have a world currently where you have primary kids who tell you they're having girlfriends and boyfriends, and it is almost okay. Yes, it is almost okay. And we've had it in the news. Girls have been caught from school. They're supposed to be going home, and then they're being caught in some apartment having an orgy, having threesomes. There are these things that we hear about, and you realize as a person, you have not even experienced them. So what happens then is that the world has become too dependent on sex and sexual abilities. So that as much as Matasio wants to tell us that we should look at it beyond, the cause of this insecurity is the fact that the world has so much delved into sex beyond every other thing. So a lot of, you're not thinking about it. When people are getting into a relationship, you almost think about sex before thinking about other avenues that could actually uphold this relationship. So that in the end, when you look at a sexual, a relational union and subtract sex from it, you almost have nothing. So it's like sex is the bonding aspect of every relationship. And I think that is where the problem is, because now if sex is the bonding structure, if sex is the bonding pillar of any relationship, then that means sex is all you got. Sex is all you have as a man. And if someone comes and tells you that this that you think you have that holds these together is not sufficient, then that becomes a big insecurity. Because if you are at a place where yes, I am delivering sex, my sex could be ish, it could be average, but I'm a very good entrepreneur. I'm a very good influencer to this person I am with. This person looks up to me on matters beyond this. But if it becomes the cardinal reason and the cardinal glue to the relationship, then it becomes all you have. Anything that touches in its deficiency becomes a huge cause for insecurity.
Eli, because wait, just a minute, Matas. Today you are our true north, so we will pour points and then you bring them home. But to add on to what Esuchi is saying, again, I want to look at just the term insecurity. This is a fear of not being able to deliver what is perceived as deliverable. Yeah. And I ask myself, where do we develop these fears? And that's where I come and I join Esuchi in saying, as a society, and I want to approach this wholly from a societal perspective, because for you to be insecure, there has to be some comparison with another. Yeah. And this comparison is coming from where or from what society is putting out there. For example, if I can take a quick example, where did the issue of the length come from? Why is it okay to have 4 inches or 6 inches or 2 inches or whatever inches? Yeah. Because then I would ask, what about the corresponding, because you do not have sex as a man alone, what about the corresponding component that these 6 inches is going into? Yeah. Because then does it say if all men the standard should be 6 or 4 or whatever, then is there a corresponding size for the other gender? Yeah. But because now for men it has been put by society that a macho man will have this length, a macho man will go for this length of period, a macho man will, all these things. Where does all this information come from? Because no insecurity develops on its own. You're not born and without any context you become insecure. Yeah. And this is the issue that we want to deal with here, because ultimately I believe we all have different strengths. For example, why are we not arguing about who is taller than the other? Why is Esuji taller than I am, or does he have more hair than I do? Why this particular aspect of sexuality? Yeah. And to tie that so that we can allow our true north to bring it home, sex is sacred to man. It touches on his ego. Yeah. It is one of the most profound fears when it is assumed that man cannot perform. And perform, I use that term to mean on all angles when it comes to sexuality. Because again, remember Ellie, and probably we will still dive into this, we've heard of men who can't sire children. Yeah. And it is a big, huge issue. And we will even say, no, it is the woman who is barren. And they have gone, the woman keeps on going for tests after test after test. But the man folds his hands and sits back. Why? It is the fear, the insecurity. Yeah. So my context would be, what is creating all these insecurities, and are they real? Because at the end of this show, I believe we should be able to say it is real to have these insecurities and it is okay, or it is not real.
Well, the African man, before we take a break, just to have a word from the True North.
First of all, I want to critically block where James is trying to bring us.
Accept.
I am asking questions.
Your question is this: you ask, is it not a high time for us just to say yes, these insecurities are there, men can have insecurities?
It is yes or no.
Object to that, because I look at myself here as, we are here, we are opinion shapers. We are here to create people close from a weaker point to a stronger point. And we are talking about dimensions of thoughts, dimensions of understanding. And fear is something we have to let go. You have to understand to deal with fear. And insecurities are born from fear. So, first of all, I said in the beginning, sexual diversity should not create any insecurity in you. Even if you are sick, you have a medical case, it does not create any insecurity, sexual insecurity. Then I came back and I said very clearly that we have to look at this from three different angles: the physical angle, the intellectual angle, and then the spiritual angle. You see, all these things, if I can react to my friend Eshuchi, when you start to say, yeah, when you take sex away from life, you remain with zero. It's bullshit. It's completely nothing, my friend. To be honest, first of all, when we look at, I will ask you a very simple question. In this generation, if you put somebody and tell them sex, money, and children, Just put it in the right order. What should you look for first? Money, sex, or children? So
It
what
will
I'm
depend
trying to
on what
say is,
age set
It
you're
is
asking that
that
question.
has a lot of variance, Mr. Matasio. I don't see.
variant. I'm coming to that. To where
Okay,
it's,
okay.
so
You should
now,
have made it ideal though. Then okay.
yes. So now, when we come and start to think of pushing narratives like life is about sex and money, and that's exactly why a very big population, not only younger generation, is lost. Because at a very young age, when somebody makes sex the most important thing in your life, you want to understand all that there is about sex even before you are 18.
Matasio, I'm not usually someone who speaks over another person, but I think there's a thing or two that you got wrong. I was not presenting as, and that's why when you write notes, write as you listen. I
am just, correct me if
yes,
I'm wrong. I've got
yeah.
Shots
No,
fired.
no. I said exactly what you said, what you've just said. Nothing wrong about whatever you've reckoned from what I said, but you've missed out what I was addressing. I was not saying that this is the narrative I'm pushing. I was trying to source for the problem, and I was saying the problem is that the current generation and the current state of affairs has placed sex way up there at the expense of everything else, and thereof giving it too much power as to be able to be quite a cardinal source of insecurity.
Okay. So but you're not standing for that.
So you take back words like saying bullshit. You take
No,
those back.
cancel
If
your
it's not
notes.
from you, then
That
it's
that
not from
particular
you.
area, cancel your notes.
But we understand that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Maybe we talk about the same thing, but I thought that's what you really want to push ahead. I really don't like that agenda because it is a very misleading agenda, because that is where the first brainwashing begins. You understand? The first brainwashing is in the physical.
I'm very sorry, Matasio. I'm really sorry about this. It is a brainwashing agenda. It is a wrong agenda. Do you agree, even in the list of percentages, that therefore, much as an agenda as it is that you do not want, is it existent? Is it something we are contending with? Good. So
It is
okay.
existent, and we validate it. That's what I want to come. It's the things that we validate.
Ellie, you're
And I'm
muted.
coming even to the point that we start to validate things like, you see, when we I like to make a discussion to the point. I'm here to say it very clear. As I said before, we validate things that make us comfortable, and at that moment also creates a problem. But for example, I know we are here discussing sexuality, which is actually sex education. And I'll be very clear with you. Before I come to the real point, I was even saying that every community, every culture, every society has got a very, very good sexual education traditions, structures, plans, teachers, and all that. But even when we start this discussion, we are already talking about 1 minute man, things we already see from the social media arguments between males and females and blah blah, expectations and commitments. Which I
Unfortunately,
Ellie,
Matasio,
Ellie,
I think
before
we
you go
must
for the
really
break.
take a break.
No, Ellie,
Yes.
just 1 minute before you go for the break. Again, today it seems I'll be with Esuchi through and through. We agree with what African Man is saying, but that is the ideal. So we are looking at the realistic, what is happening today on the ground. And because I know you want to take a break, let me give that example that that happened a few weeks ago on social media. There was this clip that was going around of a woman who cheated. Yeah. And when the husband found the woman cheating, he tied her on a boda naked and was returning her to the parents. And it created a whole lot of debate. Yeah. There were those for and there were those against those actions. Yeah. But then the connotation at the end of it all was sexual in nature, and what harm in terms of insecurities did it arise in this man. You can take your break, and then Matasio will tell us what insecurities were.
Well, the director has just instructed us to take a break, and let's take a break in the Girls Talk every single Wednesday with Frida Nguku, Noreen Ambata, and of course Nyanduko 254.
Juu anapenda chapati na hana pan. Uliona ile mimi msichana mwenye anaendanga kwa boyfriend na pan? Huyo msichana ni mimi. Nitaendelea
unabeba pan from your hostel to his hostel.
Nilikuwa naweka pan kwa kibeti, ninaenda kupikia boyfriend.
Lakini wewe Nyandu, how are you even? Yaitwa mke nyumbani.
Welcome back to the Mensden. I'm hanging out with the men, and huku watu wamekataa kuelewana. Everybody's throwing jabs at each other because apparently there's a miscommunication happening. But then again, that's how men are wired. Argue even though there is no particular point to argue as we try to fix between the reality and the ideal. Matasio.
Yeah.
Before you answer my questions, let's take the comments from the comment section. We have Mpenzi Semeni, who tells me, this is like work. You are working with you. You are working with you. You are a man, so you people, you have to communicate during the sex. As for her or him, what most you like when you are in the field. Okay, now I get the message. This is like work. When you are working, you have to communicate during the event what you prefer against what you don't prefer as you are doing your 2 minutes of work. That is the Illinois 1.59. And for me, nobody has to take the blame. And that is in response to the question you're asking, should men take the blame for the unsatisfied sexual partner's demands? That is the response there from Penzi Semeni. Thank you so much. I disagree. We need to be... Wait.
I like that one.
We need to be mentally ready. That is Linda. And these are your opinions. How are you? Watunguyas. Thank you so much, Zena. Umepotelea wapi mami? Karibu sana. I think we had another rejoinder from Linda, who goes ahead and says, the food we are eating is pushing our bodies to acidic levels and making our blood heavy and sloggy. That's why we need superfoods and electric foods like CMOS, which make the body alkaline. Mumesikia? Continue eating your MacD's hugo. Yeah, umeenda YouTube. Shuchi is breathing wisdom. I agree with you. You are what you digest, she goes on and say, thank you so much, Linda. And of course, and Jakita goes ahead and says, true, Eshuchi. Many couples have no bondage if you remove sex. As soon as sex is eliminated from that, then there is nothing more left. Now, I need to warn you, this is a long one. I hope Frida hajatuingilia na mablows. Let's go. Is the man the one to blame? I would say yes and no. This is the thing. Communication is key. As a woman, you know your body and you communicate what really excites you sexually to your man. As a man, listen and don't assume what excites one woman will excite the other. No. Don't bring your previous to current. When it comes to sex, also I stand to be corrected in that when the woman is well understood sexually, then a lot can go right when it comes to sex. So speak up. Know each other, period. And that's where I want to pick a point that might not really augur well with all of you from this statement. Then it says, when the woman is well understood. Why does it have to be about the woman? How about when the man is understood that he cannot have size 14? Size 14.
Eli, when a woman is talking about being understood, she will say a woman to be understood. You didn't expect her to say when the man is understood. It's a woman talking, so I accept it.
Well, do you accept that we have various sizes and they work differently? And does size really matter? Back to you, African man.
What? Now you bring me new questions.
Yes, because we are not going to dwell on your questions of food. Somebody already answered you the food question.
As I said before,
Stay in class.
I think to be honest, we can have a 25 years discussion about sizes and minutes and stuff like that. That is really irrelevant in one way or the other. But because people take it very serious, we have to address it. That's the only reason we have to address it. But whether your partner takes 2 minutes, you take 20 minutes, whether your partner takes 6 hours, you are wet in 1 second, those things really do not matter. To be very honest and straight to the point, they are like 1% of a meal. Let me just pause for the ladies now. I've talked about the men. If you have a date with a man, or rather you get somebody who picks you up at 2 o'clock, spends the best marvelous time with you up to the next day in the morning. He did everything perfect. Even he took helicopter, did whatever things you dreamt of doing with a friend, jokes, whatever. And maybe you didn't want sex, or maybe whatever, but sex was part of it, but it just came. And this guy took 2 minutes, as you claim the 2-minute man. But another guy went to his job, did everything, akatoka huko, he came to your place at midnight. He did all those things with you from midnight until 10 o'clock, nakaondoka, nakaenda. Utakumbuka nani? Ladies. Men, we can talk about it. But ladies, in the comments, answer me that. So you will find things have to be packaged. Just as I agree with the Shuchi, timing is the moment. Timing. You can
How about the size, sir? How about the size? I'm really interested in the size.
It is irrelevant. It is like,
because some people are there walking and they are using their own organs as safety belts, and then they are splashing the way they are.
Ellie, let me take this.
You have rastas. Me, I'm almost bald. Is it such a very big difference? So why would we make a very big issue about the sexual organs? It is really not. It is irrelevant. My answer is it is irrelevant.
I will tell you why it's irrelevant or relevant, because Matasium, you understand that at this time and age, we have ladies, yes, and I say it, gentlemen, ladies that are purchasing extraordinary lookalikes on internet. If you think their handbags are holding money and application forms, they are holding tools of mass destruction. James, what do you think about that? Is this the reason why we have this miscommunication in terms of what size should actually come to play?
You want to tell us these handbags hold tools of trade?
Not only trade, tools of serious trade, mass destruction. Some things you look at them and you're like, I will never get to that size.
Again, Ellie, you have asked 2 questions that I will attempt because, again, from the onset, African Man, our true north today, told us we can't attempt to answer for all men, but we can try to rein in what we see happening. Number 1, again, there is fantasy and there is reality. Okay. Now, when this lady goes and purchases this tool that is 17 inches long and can vibrate for 24 hours non-stop, that is fantasy. Definitely, there is no man who will ever match that. Yeah. So the question again boils down to, where does this fantasy come from? And that is where Esuchi was coming in and saying, we've become so liberalized as a society that we are experimenting with everything and anything. Okay. Now, number 2, you ask whether size matters. And I'll go back to science. The reason why that question would be asked would be to try and figure out, is there an ideal size that would make the woman orgasm? Okay. Because it's all about, at the end of the day, whether it's size, period of times, we are looking at the woman orgasming. Yeah. And if you're now to look at science, the clitoris is at the very entrance of the vagina. Yeah, it's not huko haijafichwa huko kama cutout babe huko mwisho huko ati kama una spanners juu ya how many inches you won't get there. So at times these things are just that we do not understand. Yeah, we do not understand sexuality. And why don't we understand sexuality? Because we are watching these movies, pornography, which has been shot for 25 minutes, and they're just pounding, and we think that is the way. Yeah. But if we tried, and there's a place where I said when growing up in the African context, and I don't know why African man is not, I will remove that title from him of True North.
Yeah, leo anaangusha title.
Yeah, we in agreement. I don't know why he's not telling us that when growing up as both male and female would be put in age sets and age groups, they had mentors who taught them on sexuality. Yeah, and they gained true knowledge. Where are we gaining this knowledge today? It is through experimenting. It is through stories from our peers, which are stories of giants. Yeah, it is through the internet. It is through videos. Yeah. So we do not have the right information. Yeah, so all these things are fantasy. And what fantasy does is, because it can't be matched by the reality, for the man who has bought into that fantasy, ameuziwa uoga, he becomes insecure. Yeah. And that's why you find some men will jump from one woman to the other, trying to prove their manhood. Some will use money to buy this, whatever, to cure off this insecurity. And the list goes on and on. Yeah. So it's all about fantasy, and the fantasy creates insecurities that should not be there in the first place.
Thank you, James. But and that's a very interesting insight you're giving. Eshuchi, for a minute, I with the discussion James is bringing in with all this, fantasy world, there's been a serious reports of soldiers dying at war. Jamaa ameenda kazi, alikuwa analima, then they just, they were forced to appease this woman according to their pleasures. And then they take some pills, and then that was the end of the story. Why is this an issue, sir? And how can we sort this out?
Eli, you can't be doing that to me. I was getting ready to respond to the previous line of conversation, and now you're bombarding me with it. So
feel free to overthrow him. Feel free to overthrow him.
Yes. Allow me to answer this in the end of the response I want to give. I'll be thinking about it as I give my conversation. Okay.
Fair enough.
A quick one. Allow me 2 minutes. I'll try to make it 2 minutes. I want to take you through a quick journey from source and effect. When I was in Standard 5, my very amazing teacher, Mr. Oswago, he was our science teacher. He was teaching us about reproduction. And this is how he defined sex. We really laughed at it there. But later on in life, you start looking at it and you realize, you know what? That must have been the most basic, authentic definition of the word sex. And this is what he said. He said, sex is the only thing that a male and a female will do without being taught, without observing anywhere, without, as long as a male and a female have achieved a particular age, a particular level of development, they will do it, and they will know how to do it. And you will not tell someone this is how you penetrate. You will not tell someone this is how you do it. The problem is, and I agree with both my friends, Matasio and no, more with James. Matasio is too much on the ideal world today. I don't want to lie to him that I agree with him. So I'm more with James today. Ideals really change, and now this is to my brother Matasio. We want a world where size won't matter. We want a world where sex won't matter. We want a world where sex won't be everything. Unfortunately, that is not the world we have, because dynamics change. Last year, there's a look that you love. There's how you love to dress, and this year you don't know how all of a sudden you've changed your style. Things just happen, and you see these are very tiny details of society and development and changes that are usually engineered by the environment. Now, with that in play, you realize once the environment becomes such a big, and of course, environment here means observation, experience, peer pressure, things you hear. Right now, technology is at its peak. Everything is there. You can keep a child from anything else, but as long as this is a child who is existing in this century, the things you'll not filter from them because the exposures are beyond moderation. And therefore, you end up with people who are picking everything here and there. And you see, with the things that you pick in your environment, you develop your ideal. And I love that James brought these in a different word, because his word was fantasy. Because then you now start developing interesting things. I can tell you for a fact, these things you're saying that the females carry in their bags, those long things, those things hurt them. Those things don't excite them. Those things don't help them. Just like James is saying, the clitoris is placed right at the entrance of the, and I don't want to sound like I know the female body better, but that is my understanding. And like I said at the beginning, science doesn't lie. We have types of females. We have the multi-orgasms. We have females that you just touch and they're there. Then we have these others, wenye tunaitanga kwa social media, for lack of a better word, na don't judge me for this, tunaitanga magaidi. You know, gaidi ana lazima unajua unatoka huko mpaka huko. You get it? So at the end of the day, you realize you are making a problem that is not a you problem. However, I also want to say that there is a place where men miss out on, because there's this illusion about the efficiency or lack of it thereof about the size that makes men very focused on the size. There's a meme it wasn't a meme, it was actually a post sometime last year during the COVID pandemic. People were getting very creative, and someone wrote something very interesting. Alisema, men with big dicks think that is all that they need, and so they're not doing anything. They're not romancing. They are not they're not doing the foreplay properly. But these guys with little things have realized, Bana, we're at a disadvantage. So they are maximizing on other things, and therefore they are winning because their foreplay is on point, kila kitu is on point. Now, by the time penetration happens, the girl is there. Whether or not that is true, I still do not know. But again, another thing that we miss out on every other single day, we miss on what chemistry is supposed to bring on board. And then we also have a generation where we don't have time to build proper sexual chemistry. I don't know if you guys are manual car drivers. I'm a big enthusiast of a manual car. When you're driving a manual car, you don't start on gear 1. Lazima ikuitishe the next gear. You need the car to ask for the next gear. Sasa uwezi tu in gear 2. You know, you've met someone. These days people meet and in 2 hours they're already having sex. What have you developed together? What have you had together? So you are not going to deliver on each other, and then the expectations there are built around a funny fantasy. Another thing as I conclude, in the traditional African, and yeah, I don't know, this could be a disadvantage or an advantage, depending on how you're looking at it. In the traditional African, there was a very sacred place for the protection, like James was saying, there was a very sacred place for the protection of the man's ego. And you also want to call us chauvinists for that, but well, that is how it was. So you realize the secrets around size, period, about your man would never come in. But if you remember, and if you've been following our conversations, we've also been talking about sources of insecurities. And sometimes our women just look for our weak points. And today, that can easily be used out there just as a way, in bad faith, or just to get back at you, or you just had a bad breakup. I love to squeeze this. You don't have any meme wanasemanga, you break up with somebody, and suddenly that thing was so tiny, it was not satisfying you, and you've been there, for a while. So sometimes it's also even not a genuine concern. Sometimes people just use it because they've realized it's an easy place to hit on your ego, and then now, of course, it's grown up on men, and now men are struggling to find funny things. I see people buying gels, man. My science, I've read, I've tried to research. You will never apply anything on that is It's an inherent structure. It will not change in size. Lastly, as you drink your beer, eat a fruit. Remember now, drink your beer, then eat a fruit. Smoke your bang or weed. Eat some vegetables. Let me tell you, there is a lot.
Matawi na matawi.
I know there's a lot. Bana. You know what we consume. What you consume really helps us. Let me tell you something. For instance, the watermelon, and this is a simple secret I'm putting out there. A watermelon, for example, is a very succulent fruit. You eat it and your glands, your blood glands just fill up. Your blood flow is amazing, because when you eat it, the blood flow is easy. And what is an erection? An erection is concentration of blood cells down there. Now, you don't want to eat any fruit. You just want to drink. You just want to drink alcohol. You want to eat junk out there. There is nothing that is giving you. Sperms is zinc. Those are ions that you're letting out carelessly and without replacement and without any source. So you'll just be a 1 minute man. And up until that point, I think I want to put it a little bit on both sides. We don't owe these to the other gender. That I still hold on. But as well as a person, there's that you can do to just ensure that you have a sex life or a sexual intercourse. That also, we also don't want to encourage you that it's just okay to go there and have that mediocre interaction in the name of sex. Yes. I mean, you can do something, just do what you're able to do and let it stop there. Matasio ananiangalia, I know he has issues.
He has been writing as you talked.
I know.
Matas is always disadvantaged because he forgets that he's supposed to be part of the panel giving delivery of keynotes, and he decides to become the student and ends up with a whole full scope of no presentation.
When we started this season, we told him we are sending him back to school. So
clearly he's been
seriously.
Because I know time is gone, but because you mentioned me, I'll just jump in. First of all, I agree with you about kuna hii msemo nasema Kenya, the things on the ground are different. That's if you choose to walk and look at the ground, then they will never change. And that's how most of us want to live our lives. What I want to say with this is that world is there. That world that you're saying it is not the real world. That ideal world, you say I'm talking about the ideal world. It is there. I'll give a very simple example. If you live in Nairobi, just gotten your job, you got your first serious girlfriend. You can choose to hang around with her in every club in Nairobi, or you can also choose to look for that auntie of yours somewhere in Kibera or wherever. Just go and visit her, who you know very well. She's in a very good marriage, or rather normal marriage. She knows these things, and she'll be the one to discuss with your girlfriend. Instead of you going with your rugby friends, your college mates, and all those guys, colleagues in the bar every weekend, you are with them. That ideal world is there, but we refuse to look at it. We refuse to take our new girlfriends to relatives, family members, opinion shapers, how you call it, like, you also have got that particular uncle. You think, if I have a girlfriend, I would rather this uncle advise me about it. So that ideal world does exist, but we turn a blind eye to it. I learned that in Europe. Here you can see them make pictures. They are on the beach with bikinis and everything. And then our girls at home at 16, 17, they go with bikinis. But back at home, they don't do what the boys and girls of 16. They have very disciplined ways of doing things. But we see half the culture. So we mistake the popular culture to be the real culture. Yeah. When you are there in Nairobi, you see a festival here or somewhere on television, you see on social media, I don't know, some celebrity or whatever with kids with bikini, then you think they are going in for the Ogi after party. Those boys go, when 17, my son here, he goes to the father, asks the girl who is 16 and he is 17 to take them to the ball. The father tells him at 8 o'clock he'll be here. by 7:15 the father is sending a reminder. Wale wetu wa Kenya wanatoka hata 3, 4, 5 days arudi nyumbani. That is not the reality. So Eshuchi, that world exists. It's only because we turn a blind eye to it. I finish my point there.
Gentlemen, this discussion and conversation is not done. We still have more to discuss when we come to these insecurity matters, and Shuchi opted to refuse an answer why blue pills are killing men, all in the name of trying to satisfy the cookie jar. But for everybody that made this conversation a success, thank you so much.
I can answer you in a quick rejoinder as we go. It's very simple.
1 minute, sir.
An old man taking a blue pill is supposed to open up your blood cells. It's supposed to speed up your blood flow. It's supposed to open up your blood tissues, and that means you need to take a blue pill. Number 1. And blue pills are taken, actually blue pills are taken by these pornsters that now you guys are talking about. These guys are not doing these things on their normal need. They take the blue pills. But you see, a blue pill needs to find you in a proper state of health. You need to have proper blood sugar levels. You need to have proper blood pressure and all these to have that. But sasa mtu blood pressure ni shida, everything ni shida, ameingilia blue pill. You'll die. And then of course, the intercourse, of course, ignites your energetic levels and your blood flow. You will die because you can't sustain the impacts of the pill in your body. Your body is not as strong enough. Your systems are not at peak to handle that.
Thank you so much. Let's eat groundnuts. Yes, James?
Probably in the next show, because I see this is going to the next show. Then we should look at the long-term effects. If you do not die, like Esuchi is telling us, the long-term effects of the blue pill.
Yeah.
Because now again we are starting to take the blue pill when we are 22. So what happens to this guy at 42?
Well, science has it, and I'm not one of them. Makomere probably will be giving us that perspective in the 3rd session of this. When we look at if you continue consuming that blue pill, will your rise to the horsepower continue working and functioning? That is questions to be discussed in the next segment. Have a great week ahead, and tomorrow make sure to join the girls in the Girls Talk as they talk and ask you, what is that question I should have asked in the first date? And do you regret some questions that you never asked when you met this son of Adam? Until next time, have a great weekend, a rather week ahead, and I will leave you with Nipende Lilivyo by one and only Eshuchi Lumumba.
Ulitizama kitanda changu kimejaa kunguni, godoro inchi mbili, ukasema wanipenda. Simu yangu masekete, nguo zangu matambara, viatu vilivyochapishwa viraka, ukasema wanipenda kutoka ndani ya roho. Tulipoenda bafuni nawe, sabuni ya kipande, uzini wa gunia, ukasema ujali, fanaka utoka kwa Mola. Sasa iweje leo hii nasikia fununu toka kwa rafiki zako kuwa wanipa talaka? Sasa iweje leo hii hadithi za kuaminika zaniambia mapenzi haya yamekuchosha? Sasa iweje leo hii naambiwa sema umasikini wangu wewe umekuchosha? Ninachoomba baby, nipende nilivyo. Baby, nipende nilivyo. Zawadi ya fanaka hiyo kutoka kwa Mola. mafanikio kutoka kwa Mola. Baby, baby, ninachoomba mimi